So Galen, in the news of Oni Dino, I have a big announcement.
Ooh. Are you finally gonna start paying me for the show?
No, I would start paying myself first if anyone's getting paid around here.
Yeah, we really do not make money off of this.
You are breaking even by not winning or losing money. I am losing money actively. Anyway, that's not the news.
Okay, what's the news then?
The big news is that I have sent my Joy-Con off to be repaired for the second time.
Hey, awesome! I expect you'll be getting it back in, 2022?
I don't know. I really don't know, especially with COVID. It's, slowing down the repairs.
Yeah. But the drift
they
was
basically...
Yeah.
Yes. They needed to... they went to somewhere in California, repair center, but they should have gone to Tokyo because they were drifting so hard.
Mm-hmm.
Those things, man.
What was that entire setup of that joke just to say the Tokyo Drift thing?
No.
I felt like there was a lot of build up there.
It wasn't. You know what? Why it's built up is because you ruin it. You ruin everything with your face. You're shaped like a big grape on the face. You got the cheeks.
Grapes are delicious. I take that as a compliment.
I will not taste you.
I don't want you to.
Well, good. Then we finally agree on something on this podcast. I was going to ask you, what can I use now instead of my Joy-Con?
Your Wiimote. You can use a Wiimote.
Right. Like two Wiimotes.
Two Wiimotes, not even a Wiimote and a nunchuck. Two Wiimotes, and then you just duct tape them to the side of the Switch.
Right. That's how technology works.
And you play nothing but gyro sensor games.
Yeah, like Mario Kart. And then I can be like, I'm using tilt controls.
Let's not talk about tilt controls.
You see, you went with a bit more of a logical answer. I was thinking two bananas.
Okay. They do have the ergonomic, grip control to it. So.
Yeah, very ergonomic. There's HD rumble in a banana.
Yeah, there is. It has wireless connection, banana phone.
I nearly forgot about banana phone.
For good reason.
And now I was reminded of it. And now you reminded hundreds of other people about it. Thank you.
Ring, ring, bitches.
Hello, my moblins and bokoblins. You're all monsters friends. Thank you for joining us today on the Nintendo Everything Podcast, episode 98. We're almost to the porno channels.
I know.
That's a joke for anybody born before 1993, let's say.
Man, that cable.
My name is Oni Dino. I steal cable, and with me, I have King Zora's eldest son. He wrote, directed, and starred in the Breath of the Wild version of Shape of Water. It's Galen.
Hey. you
We
lost
really have
me
to
on that
work on
one.
your intros, Galen.
No, you lost me on that one. I had no idea how to react to that.
There was a lot going on. I could have
There was a
dialed it
lot.
back, but you know what? We live in excess here on the Nintendo Everything Podcast. We are a weekly show. Episodes go live every Sunday, bright and early. Probably. Oh my god.
That's for the. Don't worry. That's for the SoundCloud version. Try the rest of it.
You know what? SoundCloud is rough. Okay, hold on. I'll talk about that in a second. We are on nearly all the podcast platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. We're on Amazon Audible. We're on. God, what else are we on that's new? We're on pretty much everything. Because we are using a wonderful hosting agent that puts us on everything, which is great. It's super great. You know what it doesn't put us on? The only thing that it doesn't put us on is SoundCloud. You know why? SoundCloud wants you to pay them money directly. That is basically the same amount of money that I pay to put on every platform ever to pay just to put on SoundCloud. So it's difficult when this is a free podcast and we don't have any money coming in to say, yes, I will pay twice the amount of money just for one more podcast platform when already everybody is listening to us on all the other ones. It's a thing. Anyway, I do have us a SoundCloud. I do. There is last week's episode on there. That's already filled up the amount of data that I can put on there. But it is a way for you to get into the podcast. And there's links on there so you can go to our full library. Anyway, we're on all the podcast platforms. Please check us out. Please give us a rating. Right, Galen? What does the rating do?
The rating helps our algorithms that go out.
Yes, it helps us get exposed to new ears.
Mm-hmm.
So please leave us an iTunes rating. That's the best way to support the show. You can also share us with a friend.
Help us expose Oni to your earballs.
I don't want to expose myself. Speaking of that, let's go to our adventure log. This is our adventure log segment where we talk about the video games we've been playing this week. There's a lot of news, so we're going to go a little bit lighter on the adventure log. In the meantime, Galen, where can they find you on the internet and what do you do? Who is your daddy and what do you do?
Well, Daddy Nintendo knows that, but call back to last week's episode.
Is it?
If you want to give me joke advice, because apparently I am floundering this episode, please do so on Twitter at Mobius087.
And I'm the Little Mermaid. You can find me at Oni_Dino on Twitter. I do many things. I write for I translate for Nintendo Everything, and I write for Silicon Era. That's a new job that I have started this week, so you can read my articles over on Silicon Era. I also do a podcast every Friday. It's technically actually on Saturday if you're in like the Eastern Hemisphere of the world, but come on over to my Twitter where you have links to all of those things, and you can join in on like the podcast that happens on Fridays on Get Vocal. That's a lot of fun over there.
Yeah.
It's a very small, interactive, and intimate podcast, so if you want to have a conversation with me.
Yeah. You're really making a splash in the social medias, so...
I am, and it's weird because I don't care for social media. It's difficult. It's really difficult.
I've had to step away from social media quite a bit lately.
Yeah. But there's so many cool people that listen to this podcast and that I interact with regularly in Discords that I'm just so happy to know you all, and especially how knowledgeable so many of you guys are. So it's really great, and I really enjoy talking with you. So please do continue the chats with me.
Absolutely.
So getting into it, I have been playing Super Mario 64 this week. I beat it. I beat the 64s.
Congratulations. Did you get all the star bits?
120. They're not called star bits. Yes.
I know.
Do you? Because you said... Anyway. That is an interesting game to play, especially in 2020. Those later levels get really annoying.
Yeah.
Like... unfun kind of annoying. Like there was a time where I was trying to collect 100 coins and I needed to get to a certain area, and it was just basically I have to hope that the controls work when making this jump, and it didn't work, and I was like, I just lost 10 minutes of gameplay. And I had to turn it off and like just stop playing. You don't really get those kinds of issues with some of the later Mario games, or more modern Mario games I should say. It's just like that game is punishing in a way that Mario games aren't typically. And it sticks out.
Well, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact of when Mario 64 first came out, they were still very much learning what it meant to develop a game in a 3D space.
Yeah, that was the first game that most of us played where up was now forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. No, it was... It's one of the reasons why it's so interesting that this is more of a time capsule more than it is an HD remake or anything. And we talked about this last week.
Yes, it's not even a remaster, let alone a remake. It is just an HD port.
Mm-hmm.
They've cleaned up some textures and they look very nice.
It's interesting how well the game preserves itself. And there are some aspects that really do hold up well. And then there are others, like the camera controls and the responsiveness of the buttons, that you really need to go into this knowing that it is an older, dated game.
Yeah, on that topic, like, it is impressive because all of that stuff was brand new. You know, you have to think of that. And it's still impressive how much of this game is in modern games 25 years later. You know, they nailed it 90% of the way, honestly, and like so well that it's influenced video games. This is a super influential video game.
100%.
That said, Mario is still slippery and stiff at the same time, which is a feat.
Yeah.
And I can very much understand when people say, oh, I don't like that game, like I don't like playing it. Very much understand that. The later levels got really frustrating for me in a way that, like, as a 30-something-year-old adult, I just don't have the time to piss away on a video game, you know, where I lose progress.
No.
Like I used to when I was a tiny child.
100%. I actually rewatched Ego Raptor's sequelitis video on Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time recently, and it made me think of this game and just the entire concept of you can have this incredibly influential game that set practices and standards in motion that other games would adopt and grow upon. But if you went up to just somebody who is more of a casual gamer and said, hey, I've got two games here. I've got Mario 64 and Mario Odyssey. There's a good chance that they would probably have stronger connections to Mario 64 just because it is a more well-known game. Even though Mario Odyssey is arguably much more precise and polished and...
Yeah. Playing this game and beating it and thinking about it in 2020 kind of gives me a better appreciation for something like Mario Odyssey, which, you know, I'm very lukewarm on. I'm going to go back, because I still haven't beat Mario Odyssey. It just doesn't hold my attention. I'm going to go back to Mario Odyssey with fresh eyes and play that game, because of course that game plays so much better. There's even like environmental world building and things like that in the game, which I love. And this game, Mario 64, looks like an alpha of a game just because of the geometry and the weird worlds. Like, it looks really weird, but I like that. So anyway, I'm gonna go back to Mario Odyssey and see how I feel about that. I'm gonna take a little break though from the Mario games. Don't want to burn myself out.
No, that's fair.
I'm also gonna keep going with the trilogy in the future, so we'll go on to Sunshine after that.
Yeah. Honestly, it's surprising to me that Odyssey didn't catch your attention as much as some of the other games.
Yeah, twice. I twice. I basically got to near the same spot from it. I had started over from scratch both times, and it just doesn't hold my attention.
Yeah, personally, I loved it. I haven't 100% completed everything because there's so many moons. There are so many moons.
That's a complaint that I have with that game, is that there's too many moons for nothing. Like, sometimes the moon is just sitting there, and you're like, oh, okay, I got a moon, and it doesn't hold me. Like, I mentioned this last week, but like Super Mario 64, because of the stiff controls, I feel engaged all the time. Maybe for the wrong reason, but I do feel engaged when I'm playing that game. And with Mario Odyssey, he just moves so great and things are so easy. And, you know, I'm fully aware to say, like, this isn't a bad game by any means, of course, Mario Odyssey, but this maybe is for a different audience. This is maybe a great game for younger kids to play, or something that need that introduction to playing a game, playing a Mario game, and getting that constant satisfaction of getting rewarded with moons and stuff like that. I think it is really well designed in that. I'm just maybe thinking it isn't for me.
Yeah. But we'll talk about that later when you finally get back to it.
Yeah. I don't know why I did that.
It's like a rejected Mario character.
Give me... Oh my god. Can you imagine if Princess Peach, you know, she invites you, like, she writes you a little letter, and she's like, Dear Mario, I have made a cake for you. Please come to the castle. Yours truly. And, you know, Mario's reading it, so it's basically his version of what Peach sounds like in his head.
Uh-huh.
And then he's like, oh, I'm so excited. I get to go to have a date with the Princess Peach. And then he gets to the castle, and then, Toad's like, hey, Mario, she's upstairs. Go ahead and see Princess Peach. And he's like, oh, okay, Toad. You're a little more annoying than I remember you sounding. I guess you don't hear your own voice. And then he goes up to Princess Peach's room, and she's like, yeah, Mario, oh my god.
Oh god.
What's up? I'm having such a good time baking this cake. Yeah.
Can you hand me another one of those White Claws?
Oh, that's okay, yeah. I was like, what is that? Okay. You might have to explain that joke a little bit for non-American listeners. I think that's maybe only an American drink.
I hope it is, because it's so ridiculous. It is a low, 0-calorie alcoholic beverage that
it's alcoholic seltzer water.
Alcoholic seltzer water, yeah.
Yeah, flavored alcoholic seltzer water. Great concept. I would drink that all day.
I just can't get behind flavored seltzer water. I've tried it a bunch, and it doesn't synergize with me. So
synergize, my god. Talking chemistry. Let's not talk chemistry. Let's talk video games. Galen, give me a Gatling gun of what you've been playing this week.
Jesus, what haven't I been playing? I think I played everything for at least an hour and then immediately moved on to a different game. I've played Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I've been playing Castle Crashers, Breath of the Wild. I've been playing some Spiritfarer. I've been playing Destiny and Animal Crossing because it's my weekly games. No surprises
there, yes.
Yeah, no surprises whatsoever.
Mm-hmm. Games can be both.
God, I've been playing Super Mario 3 and Super Mario World on the SNES Online emulators just because.
Yeah.
I even jumped into the original, OG Super Mario just because. It's been a little bit of everything all over the place this week for me.
And now that you have all of those little bits of games deep inside of you, how do you feel about them?
Good. All of them that I played, it was just re-experiencing those old emotions and just feeling, hey, I remember why this was fun. This was a really good time. I'm gonna just keep this feeling. I'm gonna move on to the next one, and I'm glad that this is my most recent final memory of this game. Moving on.
Remember happiness?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I remember back when I was playing Red Dead Redemption 2, and spoiler alert for those who are playing the game, but after about the fourth of the way through the game, your character gets sick with tuberculosis, and the rest of the game is he's realizing that his death is coming upon him, so he wants to try to leave the world in a better place than what it was. This was spoiled to me, so as I'm playing the game, I recognize that mission was coming up, and I'm like the mission where you get in contact with the person who gives you tuberculosis. And I'm just sitting here, it's like, if I don't do that mission and just do all of these other side quests out at the same time and then stop playing, he'll never get sick.
Yeah.
Arthur Morgan he's living his best life riding horses somewhere. So
I think that's a good testament, though, to good world building and good character writing when you don't want to get to that mission because you just like this world, you like this character, and you want him to be happy.
Yeah. And I know I'm missing out so much on that game because from everyone that I've talked to who's personally played it, the game is just amazing to experience. But yeah, my guy's still alive. Yours isn't, so hey.
Galen won. Galen won at the video game.
Yeah, basically.
Suck it, nerds. So you going to stick with any of these myriad of games that you've tried out this week, or...
I don't know. My big thing is that while I've enjoyed all the games I've been playing, I'm having a hard time finding that game that catches my attention and just keeps a hold of it.
Yeah, sounds like you need to play Xenoblade.
See,
or Fire Emblem.
I don't. Yeah, Fire Emblem would be nice, but unfortunately, the video store that I rented it from went out of business, so I can't rent it anymore.
A video game rental store going out of business in 2020? Are you telling me they're not lucrative?
That's like hearing about a a unicorn dying. Like, you're amazed that it was around in the first place.
Yeah, fair. I was gonna assault you for whatever analogy you were gonna bring up, because you're not known for your analogies, Galen. But that was a good one.
Thank you.
You're leveling
up. Let's be clear. I am definitely known for my analogies. They're just not high quality analogies.
You're known for your poor analogies.
Thank you. But no, I've got some games on the horizon that I'm definitely looking forward to. Well, I'm looking forward to the new Cyberpunk game because I really want to kind of get into that RPG-esque world. I'm looking forward to the new Hyrule Warriors game. That is going to be absolutely fantastic.
Are you going to actually play that one?
I think I am. It comes out in November, though, and November is going to be a really busy month. So I think I'm going to pick it up. I'm definitely going to play it, and I hope it catches my attention enough to beat it. But it's got a lot of competition in my book.
Well, it sounds like if it doesn't catch your attention, that sounds like a Galen problem, Galen. Sounds like you are too weak.
Sure.
I'm just setting you up so that way I can just destroy you in November and December.
Setting me up
January.
so you can tear me down.
Yes, I have to build you up so I can break you down, just like Mickey Rourke did to me sexually. 30 Rock, anybody? 30 Rock.
I was not expecting that callback.
Hey,
kudos.
I'll do it all day. Just like Mickey Rourke did to me sexually. So on the topic of Hyrule Warriors, I've been replaying some of the definitive edition on the Switch. Still a great game.
Can we go back a minute? Because I really just want to say, your Muffin Top, I hear, it was all that. So,
sometimes comedy doesn't come in threes, Galen. Sometimes two is enough because you want to leave the audience wanting the third thing, and then you could have saved that joke for later, but you didn't. You decided to spoil it. You decided to have two desserts.
So you're saying that you have a spoiled Muffin Top?
That's not even a joke. I've been playing Hyrule Warriors, and I'm muting Galen right now. It's great. It's super great. There's so much content there. We will be talking about Hyrule Warriors at least twice more later on in this episode, so I won't talk your ear off. Ladies and gentlemen, how are your ears doing?
Did you get a chance to play as Linkle?
Yes, constantly. Linkle is actually excellent. In Hyrule Warriors, she has two weapon sets. She has the crossbows, and she also has the Chun-Li boots. And both are great. Both are really great. The crossbows are fast-paced, and she's doing damage all around her. She has such range with that. And then the Chun-Li boots are slower, but super, super good for breaking weak points of the big bosses. Like, for whatever reason, it just does lots of damage, especially when you're in the air doing your air combos. And in that weapon set, she also uses Kukos, and she incorporates them in several of her attacks, and I love that. I love just stupid little things like that. She's perfect.
I also like that we're now 3 for 3 since she first got mentioned on the podcast.
Oh yeah. If we can, we're gonna keep this going. We're not gonna force it, okay, Galen?
No,
we're not gonna force it.
As long as it comes up organically.
Yes. Like a muffin top when you bake it and it rises.
What are you talking about?
Now on to the news. It's a light adventure log because it's a heavy news cycle. Tokyo Game Show is happening as we speak still. It's an online event this year, which is a little sad for me. It's a little rough in heart. I attended and worked Tokyo Game Show last year, and it was a great experience. Met so many wonderful, creative people. What?
Really?
Give me a weird face.
Yeah, you've never mentioned this to me before.
Listen. You're gonna hear it, okay? It was wonderful. And so it's just sad that, more COVID reminders of the world is canceled right now.
Yeah.
But anyway, in terms of news, in terms of a consumer side of things, in terms of being a gamer, TM, we got lots of really lovely announcements. Lots of really great stuff for other consoles as well, just because, the new generation is on the cusp. Nothing we're going to really cover right here. If you do want to have us talk about it, though, feel free to write into us, and we'll talk about the new Nier stuff, the Resident Evil stuff, all of the goodness, all the big ones, all the hits.
Yeah.
Send us an email if you would like for us to touch on those topics. That's nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Touch those topics at nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
A quick announcement of some of the awards that were given out so far for TGS. Animal Crossing New Horizons won the MEDI Award, which is an award that they give for contributing to building the console game industry. And that game sure as shit did.
100% yes.
I can't even remember the sales figures for it because it's so outrageous. It is like, it's the best-selling video game that has released right now. Like it's already like 30-something of all time, and it just released earlier this year, 6 months ago.
Absolutely. And I'm going to say this right now. Come the end of the year, when we do our, end of the year game award, whatever thing for the podcast like we did last year.
Bloodbath, that's what we call it.
Exactly. I am going to be petitioning hard to have this be my game of the year.
And
no
I
joke.
haven't played it, so maybe, Galen, you should buy it for me, so that way I can play it and then give you the satisfaction of making it our game of the year.
Okay. I wish I could gift you games. I wish I could do that.
If only there were a way to buy a video game online and send it to someone's house, but there isn't.
No. You gotta have the digital copy so it just lives on your console, so you never have an excuse to, not play it.
I'm pretty sure you can do that. You can
Can
just
you?
buy a digital copy and send the
I guess you
digital
could do it
code to me.
Well, and I'm just saying some of the other shops have a way where you can purchase a game for a friend or purchase a game for if somebody has it on their wish list or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish Nintendo's eShop had that functionality to it.
Yeah.
So.
But it does not. So,
No.
other announcements, other awards. Pokemon Sword and Shield won the Global Award for a Japanese product and the Best Sales Award. And the reason that did not go to Animal Crossing is because it's for the time frame of April of 2019 to March of 2020.
Yeah. So
that's the reason it didn't go to Animal Crossing.
Gotcha. So what game won that one?
Pokemon Sword and Shield. Do you not listen?
No. I didn't, because you had set it up, but I didn't hear you say that it also won this award.
Jeez, Galen, quit while you're ahead, why don't you?
When am I ever ahead?
Never. I misspoke.
That's why I can't quit.
And lastly, you're too legit. Lastly, Baba Is You won the Game Designers Award. And Baba Is You is, of course, an indie game.
Wow, I did not expect that game to be popping up, but yeah, that is a very hard game to program for, and it's such a unique premise of a game itself.
Yeah, so that's why it won the Game
awesome.
Designers Award.
Yeah. Have you heard of it? Have you played it?
I haven't. I saw it go on sale once, and I was like, I really want to give this a try. So, you know what? Next time it goes on sale, I will give it a try.
It does not go on sale. I have had that in my wish list ever since I've heard about this game.
It did go on sale once.
Okay. I haven't.
Well, maybe that's because you're not on top of things.
Maybe. That's why I'm not ahead.
Right.
You are that kid who has to have the last word in a conversation.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
No, I'm not. Lastly, mentioning this, the Game Designers Award is notable because it's led by a panel of top Japanese developers and creators. Included in that panel are Masahiro Sakurai and Yoko Taro.
Excellent.
So,
very excellent.
This is, of course, we don't really talk about awards too much typically, just because I don't think that they're very interesting to talk about. It's a private industry award kind of thing. But when it's when it's notable, like saying like, oh, okay, well, at least we know the panel is made up of top Japanese creators like so and so. It's interesting, I think. Moving on.
Absolutely.
Galen, speaking of interesting, why don't you tell us about what's going on in Animal Crossing Fall Halloween Update?
There is a lot going on. So we recently just got this new update. It hits the digital store showcase. I don't know how to say it. Anyway, comes out September 30th. And this event is entirely based around Halloween. So I'm going to go through the big announcing points that they have on here.
Just before you go into that, by the way, I want to say this on air so that way we commit to it. All of our episodes starting next week and then running for the entire month of October need to be spooktacular.
I can get behind that.
God, Galen, you get yourself a tape recorder, especially when you're talking about animals, getting behind them. Now, Galen, set yourself up, get behind some animals, and just thrust this information into all of our ears.
Yes, and it will be spooky. I don't know. So, anyway, first thing that you can do is candy is now available in the Nook shop. So you can go and pick them up. They're cheap 120 bells, and you are going to need them. You are going to need them come Halloween. You can also grow pumpkins. This actually alludes to that whole farming thing that we saw leaked a little while ago. In the update, they only showed you growing pumpkins, but I do believe that this will lead to more farming items with, carrots and vegetables and other things like that, and I'll touch on that a little bit more later. But it's cool to see that they're actually talking about that now. I'd also like to point out that overall in the entire thing, they have new outfits and items that they are bringing to the store, most of them Halloween or costume based. I remember reading somewhere that somebody counted over 45 new items being added, so that's a lot of decent content to be able to throw in for free, so I'm okay with that. Now, all of this preparation and everything is being led to the actual Halloween event, which will be starting on October 31st from 5 p.m. to midnight. So there's a very particular time frame that they are showing this for.
Oh, that's cool. So you have like a month to genuinely prepare for it.
Correct. Yes. We will be having a returning fan favorite character named Jack, who is the self-proclaimed Czar of Halloween.
I love this because I saw a screenshot and it is a Shin Megami Tensei reference.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. So when you talk to him, he says, ho ho ho, he, I am Jack. And that is a reference to Jack Frost of the Jack Bros because he says he ho all the time. And he ends his sentences with like ho.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't because you're not a real gamer.
No, of course not. Anybody who, doesn't play JRPGs is not a real gamer.
That's what I always say.
I know. It's what you believe. It is going to be written on your tombstone as well as where's my Switch?
No, bury me with my Nintendo.
Anyway, Jack's coming back. He has been in a couple of the previous Animal Crossings, most of them except for the DS version. Didn't really get a full-on confirmation as to what his role is going to be, but in the past games, when you talk to him, he asks you for candy. If you do give him candy, he will usually give you some spooky-themed items. If you don't, he will often play a trick on you, such as replacing some of your clothes, or replacing some of your items with a Jack-in-the-Box item, or something like that. So, I would imagine something similar is going to be in this game, but we don't have a confirmation just yet.
So he's just like MCP Pants.
Yes.
Because he wants candy.
I still don't get it.
I know you don't. You can tell by your reaction. That is a joke for two people, maybe.
Okay, I'm not one of those people.
MCP Pants is an actual rapper and musician, I guess, and he gained notoriety for being in Aqua Teen Hunger Force.
Oh, okay. that's not all we are getting specifically for this update. There are some quality of life updates that are coming along as well, specifically with the Nook Link, which is part of the Nintendo Online app that originally came out with this game. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically a way for you to be able to chat with people via voice or with text with other people who are logged into the app. It's Nintendo's way of coming up with the game. Anyway, the addition that they are including is you can now select all of the reactions that your character can do through the phone itself, which I greatly appreciate this change. Beforehand, you would only be able to hotkey I think it's 10 or 8 different reactions, and there's 40 or 50 built into the game itself.
Oh, wow.
There is an overall menu you can then go into and then select the one that you want, but it is very time consuming, the entire process, even using the hotkey thing.
Yeah.
And with how involved the community is for wanting to create videos or things like that, it's very obvious when, you go into a reaction menu and select a reaction as opposed to your person just doing it.
Cool.
So being able to select it from your phone is an excellent change, and I really appreciate them putting that in there.
Cool.
Along with this also does come with some new reactions. So, I mean, the new character, the Halloween theme, the new items, the new reaction, there's a lot of free stuff that we're going to be getting come October. So I'm very excited. Mm-hmm. At the very end of the trailer, they did also show that they have another free update coming in late November, and they showed a turkey and a reindeer. The turkey is actually a character named Franklin, and he usually runs the Harvest Festival. And there's very often a joke that he is being guested onto the island by a character, but in the note that he received to come onto it, the word guest was replacing an erased word that said dish, or like a dish. So he's not a special guest, he's a special dish.
Yes.
So I found that was kind of fun. I'm happy to see we're going to be getting a Thanksgiving event. And then Jingle.
American Thanksgiving,
yes.
American Thanksgiving is at the end of November for people who just maybe don't know. And then regardless, a turkey is very festive for both fall and Christmas because people typically have a Christmas turkey.
Exactly, yeah. And then the reindeer is Jingle, and he is going to be showing up for December 24th for Toy Day. And he's going to be found wandering around your village and giving out toys and stuff. So we've got more free content coming up, and I think this is absolutely excellent. I am so thankful that the Animal Crossing and the Nintendo team have been so consistent on coming out with these updates. They have kept the game feeling fresh. I've been playing it pretty consistently since the game first came out, and I'm still finding reasons to jump on and play, even though I think I had 2 more bugs and 2 more fish that I need to catch in order to complete the entire collection, and they come out in November, so.
Nice.
But even with that said, there's still so much to do in the game, and now there's going to be even more. I'm very excited about this.
That's really cool. You should, just because you're so into Animal Crossing, you should look into, in the future, streaming your plays of Animal Crossing. It could just be a really chill thing that you do online that's low effort, and just be come have a chill time.
I think I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
So, and it'd be kind of cool to, it'd be kind of cool to have people onto the to my island to show them around too. So,
and then they can critique your island and be like, "This actually sucks."
Oh, it's 100% basic. So,
you are white, so,
and male,
and straight,
and straight.
The trifecta. Well, Galen, that's all lovely.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, this happened way earlier in the week, so we're just going to touch on it very briefly. Microsoft buys Zenimax and their subsidiary Bethesda.
Mm-hmm.
Bethesda.
This was very surprising to me.
Yeah. I sort of had a rant tweet on Twitter earlier in the week that people seem to appreciate.
Yeah.
Before we get into any of that, what's happening here is series like The Elder Scrolls, Doom, Wolfenstein. I was very happy to see what's it called, Evil Within, mentioned in their little infographic, because I thought that was dead. Maybe there's going to be a third game eventually. That'd be cool. But anyway,
possibly.
At least on Switch, Elder Scrolls, Doom, and Wolfenstein have appeared multiple times. And with Microsoft buying basically these properties and the studio, Microsoft has said that it's going to be a case-by-case basis whether they're going to release games on other consoles. They will be honoring any other agreements that were made prior to the acquisition. We'll see what that exactly means, because technically the Elder Scrolls 6 was announced. They showed a picture and they announced it. They didn't say any platforms or anything like that. What agreement? Are you talking about like behind the scenes agreements? Are you talking about public agreement? You know what I mean? So we'll see with whatever any of that means. We could probably speculate till the day is done about what's going to happen, but we don't know. We're just going to have to wait and see.
I think this is more in regards to, because Sony just came out with their big thing and talking about like Deathloop, for example, which was being made by Bethesda.
Right.
And Sony was really pitching like, hey, look at this exclusive game that we're going to be making on our PS5. Come play that. So I think this is more in regards to, hey, this is happening, but if you're expecting it on these other consoles because they've said it already, I think you're good. Anything past this point, I think is going to be free game. But I would be incredibly surprised now that they actually own the company that Microsoft doesn't want to try to make that company more profitable. It actually makes more sense that on a big console like Elder Scrolls 6 or whatever, or the Starfield game, if that does come to all of the consoles, because it increases the value of the company itself.
Yeah, I would say at least for like those really big ones that everybody knows. Everybody knows Elder Scrolls, Doom, and even Wolfenstein. Yeah, I would be surprised if Microsoft didn't release those on other consoles.
And when it comes to like the smaller, still well known, but the smaller franchises like Evil Within or Dishonored, I expect Microsoft to kind of pull in the reins and kind of like keep those a little bit closer to the chest. But yeah.
So first off, like the only thing I really want to say about this is it isn't good for consumers for mega corporations like Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft to buy up studios that have no problem developing on their own from a financial perspective and publishing on their own from a financial perspective. This is a studio that didn't need to be bought. This is Microsoft buying them and basically being like, here, I'm going to take all the toys and nobody can play with them unless I say so. That's never, ever good for consumers. Swap out Microsoft for any of the other two, and swap out Zenimax, Bethesda, for any other big developer and or publisher that can, handle this stuff on their own. Imagine, because there's some weirdos, there's some childish like Nintendo weirdos that are like championing this because they don't like Sony for whatever reason, and imagine if this was Microsoft buying Platinum. They would be livid, and that example alone should be enough to show you that this isn't a good thing for anybody.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, like it's... Do you realize how much they bought Bethesda for?
Oh, it was a huge amount. I can't even remember because it's just total money.
$7.5 billion. That is billion with a B.
Okay. Thank you, Jim Sterling.
Thank you. AAA is buying AAA to make quadruple A.
I love your Jim Sterling impression, Galen. It's actually very good. You're not like...
I appreciate that.
When I was editing the last podcast, because you said like the F word like multiple times, so I had to, edit that out. As I had to keep going back and listening to it, I was actually laughing aloud at your impression. It's just such a nice time.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But no, that is a huge amount of money. That is a freaking huge amount of money that is being tossed around. So
oh yeah,
Microsoft,
big gigantic corporations toss around this kind of money all the time, and it's ridiculous because it's like you can save the world with a lot of that money.
Oh, 100%, 100%. But I also want to say this is the second largest video game acquisition that has occurred. Okay. The only one to top this is actually when Tencent bought Supercell in 2016 for $8.6 billion. And Tencent, of course, is, China company.
What? Usually when you bring something like that up in that statement, you're going to explain it.
I'm a little bit more prepared, yeah.
Yeah, or come prepared, okay? Come correct.
Well, I was going to say Tencent was a technology company, but I was like, do they deal with, what do they specialize in the most?
Nowadays, they specialize in everything. They're a government company, and they have their hands in everything. They're just a mega corporation.
Well, in the company Supercell, they actually make a lot of Clash of Clans and a lot of those mobile games that you see advertised absolutely everywhere. It's surprising such a large acquisition was made from a mobile game company, but even so, this entire thing, it's so much money to be thrown around.
Yeah. So overall, bottom line, I just want to say is it's not good for consumers, and nobody should be championing this. When it comes to buying smaller studios that are actively looking for investors because they won't, exist as a company without investors or without somebody buying them, that's a slightly different story that goes into business that I don't understand, and I'm fully willing to be like, yo, I don't understand this, somebody tell me more about it. But there's at least for us as general consumers, as general gamers, there's a clear line of when, say, Nintendo buys a studio like Brownie Brown, which I think is called One Up Studios or something like that, a tiny little studio like that doesn't develop on their own. They don't have the capital. They definitely don't publish on their own. That's a whole nother ball game. There's a difference when Nintendo buys something like that in order to support their products versus, Microsoft buying, what were we talking about? Zenimax and Bethesda.
Zenimax and Bethesda.
Yeah. Or when, people are like, I wish Sony would buy Konami. Like, no, that's bad for the industry. Like, yeah, I get it. Konami's not using their IP. However, there's a different answer to that problem.
Yeah.
Buying everything up and being like, this is my toy now is not good for consumers, ever.
Well, and that's also how you get mega monopolies and duopolies.
Exactly. Look at how. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, well, and that's one of the whole things between the whole Google and Apple versus Epic conversation about, how you can put games on the Play Store. Epic's major argument is that, hey, there's a duopoly going on here that you've basically are cornering the market, that there can be no competition, and as long as these two companies have this unspoken agreement that we're gonna make this the price because we're both making money on this,
right,
it sets trends, but it's being set by mega corporations who
have monopolies.
Who don't have your own best interests.
And corporations never have the best interest of the consumer. That is the failure of capitalism.
As an outside consumer who observes industry trends, and that is my criteria here, I am making a notice that Bethesda has been rather lackluster when it comes up to their new games.
Yeah, when it comes to games that they develop themselves as opposed to publish themselves.
Well, and especially over the past year or two. So I'm wondering how long this deal has been being worked on in the background. How long has Bethesda been thinking about, hey, do we want to sell ourselves to Microsoft?
Well, judging by the amount of money that it cost, probably a long time.
Yeah. And you can see that reflected in the the quality of games that they're talking about. What do they really talk about last year? I'm remembering they were talking about Fallout 76. They had a trailer for Elder Scrolls. And they were talking about, I think it was either Doom or Wolfenstein. It's a flip of the coin as to which one they were talking about then.
It was Doom Eternal.
But
which still hasn't come out on the Switch.
Exactly. But the gamer community
God.
Was then all in uproar because of, hey, this company hasn't been making anything new. It's not coming out with anything. Now that they're being bought, like, I'm seeing a bunch of, like, connecting points that I feel like I'm going all Pepe Sylvia here, just, like, pointing at the different things in the background and just going conspiracy theory. Carol! They don't exist. No one in this company even exists.
Not only do all these people exist, they've been asking for their mail for weeks, Galen.
Anyway, I just wanted to bring up that notation of just like, I think they've been working on this for a little while, and their choices on what games they're focusing on presenting definitely are probably being impacted by that, either to make their company more appealing or to save as much money to possibly shift these developments over while they're under this new banner.
Yeah.
And if you want to make a commentary about whether you want to champion this kind of thing or go against this kind of thing, this is a fact that I am putting out into the world that you need to consider before you make your argument.
I definitely said we were going to talk about this very briefly. It turned into not very briefly.
That never happens.
Shut up.
Are you kidding? Have you ever heard the show?
Shut up and move on. You shut your mouth when you're talking to me. Very brief. Very brief. Okay. Kirby Fighters 2 came out this week.
Neat.
It was accidentally leaked by Nintendo itself on one of their web pages, and then the following day it was released. It's $20. It's digital only.
Yeah. It's got hats. Kirby hats.
Yes. So this is like sort of a sequel to the 3DS game. To oversimplify it, it's sort of Smash Bros. Kirby.
Yeah.
It is, there's 17 different abilities, and all of them, it seems to have been reworked from their main games. They have like slightly different attacks or whatever that just kind of makes sense for this type of battle game.
You've got the sword, you've got the archer. I think they introduced wrestler as a new component that you can fight as. They also have other characters there too, so.
Yeah, total of 17. The wrestler is, they're calling it new, but it's really just a rework of Suplex, which has been in the game since Super Nintendo.
Okay.
It is a...
Well, I think they were referring it more to new for the Kirby Fighter series.
Okay.
But, yeah, anyway.
Anyway, there is a really great introduction trailer on Nintendo's official YouTube. It's like 4 or 5 minutes long. It does a really good job of explaining what's in the game, because when I just like heard about it, I was like, $20, you know? But then after I watched that trailer, I was like, okay, this is actually, you know, pretty good amount of content. $20 is a pretty fair price. I do wish it were a little cheaper, but there's a whole bunch of different characters in there in addition to those copy abilities. There's battle modes, story mode, co-op battles or versus battles. There's lots of different things in there. It looks nice.
Yeah, no, this looks fun. Although when they were going over all of the different, like, here are the 17 abilities, and they were going fighter, archer, I just kept thinking to myself, why has there not been a Kirby RPG? Because that would make so much sense.
I've been saying that for years, bro. My brilliant idea, like I said, about having a Mario RPG 2, where it is a job system. I'm gonna remind everybody, every like 20 episodes or something, this is gonna come up because there's new listeners. A Mario RPG with a job system like Final Fantasy, except the jobs are Fire Flower, Cat Suit, that kind of thing, Hammer Bros. They could do the same thing with Kirby and his copy abilities, man. I just love job systems.
You have a party of Kirbys, and each Kirby is a different color.
I will supervise this game for very little money. For a fair but very little amount of money, because I don't want to hurt the industry.
You also don't know how to be a game developer, so...
I don't have to be a game developer. I can just be an ideas man. And you know I've got ideas. I'm like Hemingway. I was like, come on, say something smart. Sips tea.
The sips tea.
But that's none of my business.
Visually, that had to be really weird because I had to like bend down just to make sure the microphone picked it up.
Yes, because your microphone doesn't have its gain all the way up. Anyway, this game would be, I think, a perfect... They could have even pared it back a little bit and just make it like basically just an online battle thing. You know, really pared it back in terms of development costs. This would be a perfect type of game that is like free with Switch Online. you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If they had really dialed it back and just made it a third of what it is, I think that would be a great thing to do, like a free game like that.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully there will be like a demo or something like that. It probably won't really go on sale. You know, it's a Nintendo first party game. You might get 20% off if you're lucky in a year. But I will champion this game because it is way better than that stupid microtransaction Kirby game that's like free to start or free to play nonsense. Because Kirby is a friendly and very kid-friendly series, and to make a microtransaction game out of Kirby, I think is really insidious and evil. And it's gross that Nintendo did that. So I will totally champion a game that you just buy and you just play.
Mm-hmm. I think the world needs more of those.
Yes. Super briefly, I'm going to mention this because it is an evolving story that has just come out. So the dude that left Ubisoft earlier in the week, I think, his name is Michel Ancel. He was the Beyond Good and Evil 2 director, and also I think the creator of Rayman. He left the gaming industry earlier this week, and he did that. Apparently, as of today, it seems to be the reason that he did that is he was jumping ship ahead of time. Smart idea. Because there is a huge expose on a French website called, I think, like Liberation or something like that. I forgot what it was exactly called. But anyway, it's an evolving story. We'll probably end up talking about it at some point in the future. There's an expose detailing detailing complaints and allegations of very toxic leadership. Like, some very rough stuff. This is a brand new subject. We're not really going to talk about it just because the facts aren't there yet. We'll maybe talk about it in the future. Very fascinating. Ubisoft is currently our top tier contender for biggest shit show for our awards ceremony at the end of the year that we do.
100%. Yeah. 100%. I am not happy with Ubisoft.
No way. But let's talk about the big gameplay details from TGS that are Switch specific. Monster Hunter Rise. We got like 25-30 minutes of straight gameplay and explanation of mechanics. It was live translated by the lovely Gavin. Love that dude. Met him earlier this year at what was that? The Suda 51 event. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I just want to give proper translation credits to translators and fellows. So do check him out. He's on Twitter. Oh, I don't remember exactly what his handle is. It's like Gavin the Gwyn or something like that. Anyway, you'll find
Insert post comment here after you look it up.
Yeah, okay. I'll write it out on my Twitter. I'll link him so that way I give proper credits. But anyway, he did a great job. Freaking live translating is really hard, not only for your brain, but like to keep the pacing done well and making sure you're delivering the really important stuff. You have to translate, talk, and listen all at the same time. It's really tough stuff. It's like running a marathon. So amazing stuff. I really admire him.
Awesome.
Anyway, the gameplay. We saw the Spider-Man stuff with the wire bug in Monster Hunter Rise. That's the big thing. Monster Hunter Miles Morales.
No, don't invoke that name. You're gonna add more particle effects.
Oh god. They showed off more about the Palamute and riding the Palamute, getting more verticality, like jumping with the Palamute, jumping off the Palamute, then using your wire bug. Just like lots of really fun combos that you can do to get extra stuff. It's like basically like riding Yoshi in Super Mario World and then jumping with Yoshi, then jumping off of Yoshi, and then doing even more crazy stuff. This game seems to have a lot of freedom and organic movement.
Absolutely. I really appreciated with the wire bug. It seemed that there wasn't preset connector points like some other grappling hook or not slingshot. Any sort of swinging device that you would normally use. It's literally, you pick a direction, you throw it, at the end of the line, the bug's going to stop, and you're going to swing on that. And that's really cool. That opens up so much freedom of movement that you can do in this game. And I really hope that they implement that into fighting with monsters. Like, if you have a monster where you have to jump onto its back in order to crack its shell in order to make it vulnerable to regular damage, and just navigating the environment in order to get yourself into that perfect position. I really hope this game utilizes that.
Yeah. I mean, it is looking like it's well utilized in battle, as they showed off from some of the gameplay as well. You're just flipping around all the time. I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
Another thing that they showed off, or that they detailed, is that there aren't paintballs in this game. Paintballs, for those who don't know, when you're big monster that you're fighting, and it takes a long time to take down monsters, if they get super injured and they want to run away, you have to tag them with a paintball so that way you can follow their trail. Otherwise, you can lose sight of them. In this game, there aren't going to be paintballs, but there will be, I think, an owl companion that gets used like an item that you can send out to scout enemies.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Interesting gameplay change.
I'm trying to... Was it Monster Hunter Worlds that was on the PS4?
Yes.
I can't remember.
Yes.
I want to say that they had a thing in there where you could track an enemy with whatever your glowy tracky bug was. And as you damage them, they began to have more droppings and everything like that, making them easier to track. But it was still an active thing that you needed to do in order to keep the progression of the battle going.
Yeah, I think it's going to be pretty similar in this one.
Yeah. Cool. Quality of life improvements. I like it.
Yeah, this game is just like looking really good, and I think I'm all in on Monster Hunter Rise. What do you think, Galen? How do you feel about the gameplay? You think you're going to get it?
I'm still unsure. I was really into Monster Hunter World when it first came out. I had a friend of mine who was like, you need to play this game. This game is amazing. I went into it expecting that with the different weapons and everything, this was going to be something almost like a Devil May Cry, or something where it is very hack and slash reactive. Like, you can feel the speed of your character. I did not get that when I played it.
It's so not that. You think
it's
it might
so
be.
not that. Yeah, and they do a good job at making you think that it's going to be like that in the trailer. But I think it was that separation, that realization of, oh no, this is a lot more methodical, and you need a lot more planning when you're going into it and how you're acting in the game than is expected. I think it caused a bit of a separation while I was adjusting to it.
Yeah. I totally feel that. I had that same experience with the one on the Wii U. When I played the demo, I was like, oh my god, this plays differently than it looks to me.
Exactly. That said, I have a much better understanding of what I'm getting into, so I'm definitely willing to give this game another try. I don't know if I'm going to be picking up day one, but again, I might. It's 6 months. I might be dead. Who knows? Hey, 2020 is weird. But yeah, we'll definitely see as we get closer. It depends on what other games are out at the time, what has really been able to catch my attention and keep my attention going for there.
Yeah. There's a lot coming in spring.
Yeah. If I find myself needing to get my video game fix in somehow, then this is pretty high up on that list.
This would be a perfect spot for that muffin top joke. If I find myself needing dough...
Still don't know what you're talking about.
Well,
we've moved on.
That makes perfect sense. Have we moved on, Galen? Or do you need to repeat the joke 3 times? Anyway, maybe we should both pick it up around the time of launch, and then we can both learn Monster Hunter Rise together. And we can also have some of our lovely listeners who are very well versed in Monster Hunter shepherd us.
You know what? I will give that to you. If you pick up this game, I will pick up the game with you. And it's been a while since we have played a co-op game together.
That's because... Why, Galen?
Because Super Turbo Fighters died?
Because you are not a very good co-op partner.
I'm a terrible co-op partner.
Yes. But anyway, let's put it out just because, there's some time for people to think about this. If you are a Monster Hunter veteran and you know the tips and tricks and you can really just increase our enjoyment and want to shepherd 2 desperate weirdos let us know, and then maybe we can all pick up the game together and we can play and hunt some monsters together.
Yeah, I can get behind that.
Jesus Christ. Galen. Tape recorder.
What?
Every
I like
time.
it. It's a good phrase.
There is a subconscious thing with you. Every time we're talking about beasts or animals, you are inclined to say that you're just going to get behind it.
I have not necessarily made that connection. I think you might be might be putting that connection out there.
Not so. It's a subconscious connection that you are making.
You know what? Show me the proof. Show me the proof and I'll believe you.
We record this podcast every week.
I know, so it should be very easy for you to go back. But I'm going to make you do the work since you're making the accusation.
No.
So I win!
No! You never win. Have you seen your life? Moving on.
I can't see my own life because I'm too busy winning.
You can't see your own life because you're too busy being behind it. That was a stretch.
Yeah.
I forced it, just like you force it upon animals when you get behind them. I'll pull it back around.
I was going to say, like, Mickey Rourke forced you.
Oh, that's a good one. I mean, you didn't deliver it right, but that was a good thought.
Well, no, but also, you know, the context of like,
stop talking.
Wow, that's a lot darker than I expected it
Stop
would
talking.
be.
Lastly, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Calamity. We finally got some meaty gameplay and details.
Yes.
So it was a good 20-ish minutes. They showed off a lot of stuff in that 20 minutes. It wasn't just one of those like super boring live streams. So the game looks so much like Breath of the Wild. It's a bit jarring.
So much.
Even the cutscenes and the direction just feel like Breath of the Wild. They don't feel like Hyrule Warriors, which, you know, I've been playing the definitive edition of Hyrule Warriors, and I can tell right away, just like the difference is just because it's so fresh in my mind.
They really have kind of nailed down that that aesthetic, that cell shaded art style into the game, and it translates so well.
Yeah. So we are seeing some familiar things, like with the first Hyrule Warriors. There's going to be like bigger enemies that you lock onto that are going to have weak points that you should, or like a weak point gauge that you should use to really effectively take them down. We saw that there's at least 3 different ways for them to expose their weak points. One is you can wait for them to sort of like falter or whatever. Like, so for example, the Moblin has a big heavy club. He'll throw it down and then, you know, then his weak point will appear because he's got to get his club back up. There is the Sheikah abilities. So certain enemies are weak to certain Sheikah abilities. And when they do a certain thing, so maybe they're going to charge up for attack or maybe they're going to guard, that's when they will be weak to the Sheikah ability. You use the right ability, it will expose their weak point. And then the other way, I think, is if you do that perfect dodge and then you slow down time, that will make their weak point appear. I think that's just, you know, what I'm getting visually from it.
They did show a dodging mechanic that was similar to Breath of the Wild in there.
Yeah.
I can't remember if there was that slowdown effect that you got from the that we saw in the trailer, but it definitely was a, you know, time you're there. It rewards you for perfectly dodging at the right time.
Yeah. And you definitely have more mobility in dodging than you did in the first Hyrule Warriors, I think. So it's definitely going to play differently. Even the camera placement is different. The camera placement is a little bit farther back and higher up than the first Hyrule Warriors. They also showed off that there will be forts for you to take down, where, you know, you have to beat a whole bunch of enemies, and then there's going to be a grand enemy, and once you take them down, then you take over that fort kind of thing.
Yeah.
They also showed off the new robot guardian, the little cutie guy. I'm going to call him Guard 2D2.
Guard ET2?
What?
2D2.
Guard 2D2? That's what I'm going to call him?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what you said, Galen? Huh?
Yeah, that was what I said.
He is so freaking cute. They even have like R2D2 freaking sounds for him too. He, beep, beep, boop, boop, boop.
No, they had a really good way of introducing him too. Of Link just kind of like walking up and is like, "What the hell is this thing?" And then, "Oh, enemies over there. I should probably go take care of that." Then he just shows up, and there seems to be some sort of like linking him with some of the other technology that's buried underground, because you saw this like huge Sheikah spire just like shoot up out of the ground, and he looks around, and then, you know, Guard 2D2 is just kind of looking over.
Yeah. And then you realize, like, Link makes the connection that he made it appear when he grabbed the Sheikah slate. So then the little guy, he follows you around on the battlefield, and when I was showing Cliff the gameplay, he was like, oh, he's cute. Oh, I love him. Oh my god, and he makes sounds. Oh my god, he's a little Humpty Dumpty. Oh, and he just like kept getting like increasingly like more affectionate for the little guy.
You know what? It's too cute. I'm sorry. I suspect bad play here. I think he's gonna betray you. I'm calling it right now.
No.
Nope, he's gonna betray you at the very end, and he's gonna be the reason why Link fails at the very end.
You know what I really could see, though, is that he's the one that, like, saves Link and puts him into stasis or something, and then he has to self-sacrifice.
Maybe.
I could see that happening. Oh, that'll be so sad.
It's gonna get you right in those feels.
Galen, it's 2020. We can't say that anymore. It's not funny.
Is it ever?
No! Because there's a real word that you can use. It's not a substitution for a word that doesn't exist. The word feelings exists.
This translation brought to you by Onidino. Support your local translators.
Please. Just, I make so little, please. They also showed off Impa. Impa's in the game, and she's playable, and she does really freaking cool attacks.
She is ninja.
She's the most ninja that ever ninja'd.
Yeah, 100% ninja'd.
So she attacks with like kunai, and she also can create and like charge up to, it seems like 3 apparitions of herself. So she has like ghost Sheikah along her, and she puts seals on enemies, like a hex kind of thing, and does attacks that way. She disappears. She throws her freaking hat up, does an attack, and disappears, and then reappears, and then grabs her hat all stylish like she's a freaking Mortal Kombat character. She's awesome.
Yeah, I like her final finishing move or whatever that they showcase, where all of a sudden, using the Sheikah technology, they build a bunch of boxes and bombs and then just explode it right around the enemy itself.
It was so cool. I can't wait. Like, this is the kind of stuff that I live for Warriors spin-off games. Just these big, flashy, you know, like shonen or even like Sailor Moon style attacks that are just so big.
Bombastic to the point where it's almost absurd.
Yeah. I get so excited, and I'm just like, I gotta go. I get the zooms. So much fun.
That is four coffee, Oni, making that response.
I have had 3 coffees this morning, and half of a donut, and nothing else.
Oh.
I'm gonna crash later. I have so much work to do today too. So much. But I will live off of the hype of the gameplay that we saw for Age of Calamity.
Yeah, I was going to say, speaking of crashing, they also showed another trailer of all the Guardians just smashing and crashing all over the place. I don't know. I was trying to make a segue. It didn't work out. Moving on. You have a lot of work to do. We should pick this up a little bit.
Yeah, we should. But we should also just point out how embarrassing that was.
Okay. You pointed it out. With that said, though, I did appreciate seeing the champions get a little bit of the spotlight and being able to showcase how they are going to be attacking. I specifically like Daruk showing the stasis ability that he was using while he was attacking.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's going to be just so great because I think everybody pretty much unanimously really wanted to see more of the champions. And then now that you get to play as them too, like, it's going to be great. This is going to be such a good game. Like,
Excellent.
I really hate to, feed into the hype machine. This is like one out of like so very few amount of games that I would be this excited for. So check it out. Oh, the last thing I did want to mention, just because maybe English speakers didn't pick it up, or non-Japanese speakers didn't pick it up, but in the end of the gameplay, when Impa beats the Wizrobe, she picks up the fire rod that the Wizrobe had, and then she can use it. They were like, oh, we're not going to show it, though. They were teasing it, But you can use the enemy's weapons that you pick up. I don't think it's going to, like, change their whole, move set or anything. It's probably just going to be a really cool attack. But that is a great gameplay mechanic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can't wait for this game.
I'm very excited.
And I should mention, we have all of that gameplay, snippets of Monster Hunter and Hyrule Warriors and more uploaded to our Nintendo Everything YouTube.
Excellent.
And now we'll go on to additional DLC. This is where we recommend you some lovely bits that we saw on the internet. I am seriously just going to leave you with both of those gameplay things that we talked about because I really want to recommend them. I think that they did a great job of pacing out the information. It wasn't boring at certain points and I felt like I wanted to turn the videos off or anything. They did a great job of pacing them out, which is easier said than done. So check out both of those on our YouTube on Nintendo Everything. Galen,
nice.
How about you?
I've got kind of a fun one this week. Short and sweet.
Short and squeed it out.
Exactly. I am recommending a video by Tech Quickie called Why is Handheld Gaming Disappearing? This is a spin-off of the Linus Tech Tip channel, so if you're familiar with that content, it's the same guy who does this one. It's not necessarily an explanation as to why it's disappearing, but it's more of a historical overlook of how mobile gaming has been perceived since the early iterations of like some of the early Atari handheld attempts to the big Game Boy launch that came around to the competition, like, Game Gear went ahead and made a try, and then the reasons why Nintendo beat them out, and how other than the Switch and mobile games, you really don't see handheld gaming that much anymore. It's a quick 5-minute video. It's just very entertaining. So thought you guys would enjoy it.
Lovely. And now we'll move on to our listener feedback and listener mail segment.
Our most bombastic part of the show.
Sure. So a Apple Podcasts review is the best way to support our show, in addition to sharing it and everything like that, getting the word out, letting people know that this is a fun podcast worth listening to, and that we are not just Nintendo shills by any means. We critique everything.
Helps us with the algorithm, helps us, just catch the eye of other people.
Yeah. So, in encouragement of that, we will read out your Apple Podcast review. It's super easy to leave one. All you gotta do is click 5 stars. That's it. You're done. However, if you would like to click 5 stars and then type something out, we'll read it on the podcast. Just like we'll read out this one from the user Judgmental Fool. They sound...
your username or my username?
It is not either of ours, but I will say that this person sounds like a buddy and I want to be friends with them. Judgmental Fool writes, love this podcast. Very interesting topics and Nintendo discussion. Short and sweet and perfect. That's all you gotta write. That's all you gotta do. We love you, Judgmental Fool.
Thank you very much, JF.
Ooh, don't like that one. But we also have an email. That is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
That email, one more time, is nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
And you can write in corrections because Galen is always wrong on the internet. We don't want to be wrong on the internet. You can also ask for life advice, gaming advice, and we, the desperate weirdos, will provide this advice to you. Or if we missed something in the news or we didn't talk about something, be like, yo, what do you think about this? This is what I think. Because I love to hear both coming and going. I like a two-way street in these emails. I want to hear your opinion, then you ask us ours, that kind of thing.
Definitely having more of a discussion than just a blatant statement.
Well, you can send in whatever you like, though. Almost whatever you like. We don't care if you're corny.
So, this week we have an email from our good friend Jay. Hey Jay, how's it going?
Yo, Jay. Jay is a longtime buddy of the podcast.
Absolutely. Jay writes in this week, hey guys, it's Jay. I wanted to get your take on silent protagonists in games. I recently played 2 big RPGs, Dragon Quest XI and Xenoblade Chronicles. Both took very different approaches on the main character. Which do you prefer? I feel like I prefer a voiced protagonist with a personality. However, some of my favorite games of all time have a silent protagonist, so maybe there is something to it, or maybe it's just good game design. Love to hear your thoughts. Also, I think Oni should share advice on how to approach Hyrule Warriors. The adventure mode is very daunting, but in my opinion is the best part of the game now that I know how to approach it. Thanks again, Oni.
You're welcome, Jay, and thank you so much for writing into us.
Thank you very much, Jay. So, let's take on the second bit of this first.
Okay.
Talk about Hyrule Warriors.
So with Hyrule Warriors, you can, especially in the Switch version, which is the most balanced and best version of the game, you unlock some of the characters and I think some of the weapons in the Legends mode, which is like the story mode. Then the real game is the adventure mode, which is all of these different maps mapped after 8-bit modeled after many of the different games in the series.
Mm-hmm.
Each of the little points on the map are its own little stage and its own challenge. So you can get rewards for it. Sometimes it's a heart container, sometimes it's a brand new character, sometimes it's a new weapon. So Jay messaged me earlier this week on Twitter. You guys are always so welcome to message me on Twitter. I'm not one of those people that's like, don't DM me, but I have DMs open. Like, that's weird. Like, go ahead and DM me. And I told Jay that my recommendation is to definitely go into adventure mode and go into all of the different battle modes, because even the ones that say like very hard or whatever, the first stages are not very hard. And unlock all of the characters that you can unlock right away. Just go straight to those and unlock them and then be done with it. And then play all of the characters in a rotation. Don't focus on playing one character because that can get super repetitive. You want to play all of the characters because then that keeps your levels also at a fairly consistent level. I would say though, sans the characters that you hate playing as. So for me, that's Agatha. I just hate playing as her, so I don't get enjoyment out of her. I will level her up with rupees when I need to, and then play her when it's required. But for the most part, I play with pretty much every character. And I would say that nearly every character and nearly every weapon has a redeeming quality to it. Probably Agatha and the Guardian Gate for Lana are the two ones that really don't have any redeeming qualities. Other than that, I think pretty much everybody is really fun to play as in their own way. And also recognize, I don't think I gave Jay this bit of advice, but also recognize what characters and what weapons have strengths for things. So if you're doing a big battle that's like a regular battle, and you know you need to wipe out big amounts of enemies, choose characters or weapons that are good for that. If you're going to be fighting a lot of enemies one-on-one or big bosses, choose characters that are really good at smashing that weak point. Here's a tip, is a lot of people don't like playing as Ruto, I've seen on the internet. I really like playing as her. She is excellent at destroying large bosses' weak point gauges with her regular Y button attack, just the straight combo, because she shoots out like 3 orbs of water, and that already, just like that one hit, takes off like a third of the weak point gauge. She is great at that. Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, that's my suggestion on Hyrule Warriors. Then once you unlock all those characters, then you can go back and kind of progress naturally through the, easy, normal, hard kind of difficulties. And from time to time, give it a shot if you need to unlock a higher level weapon or something like that. But typically it's well progressed. Sorry, that was a little bit longer than I thought it was going to be.
Hey, no, it's fine. It's definitely a longer game from what I understand. So.
It's so much content. So much. It's great. I love it. I love that game.
So, getting back to the bulk of the question, however, what is your take on the vocal importance of characters in an RPG?
Why don't you take this, because I already just talked a bunch.
Hey, that's fair. So, personally, I don't know if I have a preference one way or another, but whether or not you have a silent protagonist or not, really to me dictates the tone of the game and how the game wants you to interpret things.
Okay.
When you have a silent protagonist, the entire idea of that is you are placing yourself in the role of this character. You are allowed to project your feelings, your responses, your emotions into how the world is reacting to you. You can't use words, but the actions you can do in the game are reflective of that. A lot of those kind of games often focus on making you feel like a hero. And because you are projecting yourself onto this character, it makes that connection that more profound.
Okay.
Now, on the other side of that coin, however, when you are having a character who has a personality, who has personality quirks and opinions and are really passionate about things, that is something that you are setting up a story. It is doubling down on, this is the story, this is the, we want to see this character rise, we want to see where their failures are, and how those characters overcome themselves, and eventually get to the end of the game where they have dealt with all of these personal traumas and these personal challenges, and who they are at the end of the game. It is very much a hero's journey and sticking to that kind of an archetype. Both are very important in a storytelling medium.
Yeah.
But when it comes to video games, it's all about what kind of an experience do you want out of the game.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because there's two big elements to this, right? There's the storytelling element and also the experience element for your player. So that's why video games are so interesting as a storytelling medium, because there's so many different aspects to it that are different than a book or a film or whatever. Each medium is its own unique thing, of course, though.
Yeah.
But I am also kind of with you where I like both. I don't think I have a preference of one over another. If I had to choose, I would say I think I prefer a voiced protagonist. But at the same time, if you have a voiced protagonist that you're asked to care about and you don't connect with them at all, it can kill the game for you. Even if the world building's good, even if the other characters are good, I will full on stop playing games just because I'm not enjoying, the character and their dumb decisions and whatever. So I think both are absolutely valid. They're just very different ways to tell your story, and you need to know how to tell an effective story and how it has that, experience effect on the player. It's just really different ways of writing a story. You can tell the same story, you just gotta kind of code it differently, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I'm going to use two examples here. One example is Chrono Trigger. Yeah. You play as a silent protagonist, and depending on what of the, multiple endings you get. But there's something about how your character is changing the pace of the game, changing the path of how the story actually goes. But that is you who is making the choice. And when the other characters are talking to Chrono, you get a sensation that they are talking to you specifically because you were the one who was responsible for those changes that happened and who made those decisions.
But I slightly disagree, though, because I really do think of Chrono as his own character. And this is something I was going to say to you on your first point that you made. I agree with you 90% of the time that if your character is silent, then they want you to think that you're the character. But there's so many times, and I think that Chrono Trigger is a fantastic example of a silent protagonist done right, where Chrono feels like his own character, and you empathize with him so strongly that you sort of feel both of those things. You feel Chrono as his own character, and you feel you as experiencing the story as Chrono. It's just a very simple, but effectively done storytelling device in Chrono Trigger.
Yeah. There's certain sacrifices that you have to make when you are trying to do a silent protagonist. If your intention is you want the character to be able to project themselves into the world, yet if you want it to be inviting enough that if somebody doesn't want to do that, you can still move the story along. So you have to give a silent protagonist some amount of personality there.
Yeah, actually, and it's interesting you say that, because I think that I dislike a lot of times when your character creator and everything has no personality. So, for example, as much as I do love Xenoblade Cross on the Wii U, I didn't like that was a silent protagonist because I don't think that it was done particularly well.
Mm-hmm. Now, on the other side of that coin, look at a game like Lunar Silver Star Story. You play as a voiced protagonist. He doesn't talk a whole lot, but the entire point of that game is that you are watching the main character, Alex, connect with the world that's around him. You are watching him have this very childhood going into adulthood connection with his, the love of his life, and having to follow that hero's journey of needing to save the princess, essentially. But you're witness to that growth that the character has to go through as he's going through that progress. And both are RPGs, both are turn-based. Mechanically they're the same, but they are such different games when how you think about how you are experiencing them and how you remember them and how you feel about them.
Yeah, I think that's a great example. And, the example that Jay brought up with like Xenoblade Chronicles, you are learning Shulk's story, and you are, you're going along, and he's a surrogate for you. He's a character surrogate for you where you don't really know exactly what's going on, but you're also learning through him the world building and the whole, kill God kind of story. Mm-hmm. And that's a really well done voiced protagonist where, sometimes you would make dumb decisions or like naive things, but the characters around him would always comment on that too, so it didn't make you feel like indignant as the player where like you're just supposed to accept this or whatever. Like the other characters are critical of his decisions, and that's also another facet of having either of these characters, a voiced one or a silent protagonist, where you just need to make that player feel that satisfaction, whether it's like subconscious thought or not. And an ensemble cast, and maybe that's why I love JRPGs so much, just they have the perfect base to accomplish that. Sort of on that topic, I think Billith in Fire Emblem Three Houses, not Three Heroes, Three Houses, is a great example of the technically silent protagonist, but they're more of like the semi-silent protagonist, kind of like with Alex from Lunar, where they do have some things that they say. You do make decisions for them, but they're more of a silent protagonist than anything. They do have their own character, but Billith, I think, is really well done in that sort of like gray area.
Yeah. And there's a lot of gray area when it comes to comparing these two.
Yeah. And, like we brought up, there's good examples and bad examples. I think Xenoblade Cross, for as much as I love that game, is an example of a bad silent protagonist.
Yeah. So
great question, Jay. This is such a important thing to me too, just being the narrative driven gamer that I am. I hate calling myself a gamer.
Yeah, but I mean, is there a better word for it?
Just not using it. Just not even like.
Just not even talking.
In general, gamers deserve the bullet, so I do not want to associate. I refuse. I wish to be excused. Jay, thank you again.
Thank you very much, Jay.
If you want to attempt to be as lovely as Jay is, you can write into us with an email, nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Once again, send those emails to nintendoeverythingpod@gmail.com.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is this another Day Bow Bow reference?
Day Bow Bow.
I'm tired.
What's coming up? What's coming out on NintendoEverything.com? 24/7 news, reviews, translations, lots of good stuff.
Probably lots of TGS stuff.
And all the TGS stuff. That is correct, Window, Galen. Keep reading our website all the time, NintendoEverything.com. Stay connected to us on Twitter @NinEverything. Also the YouTube that we mentioned in the additional DLC and news. YouTube.com/NinEverything. And Galen is on the internet.
I am. You can find me on the internet at Mobius087.
On Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
I'm also Twitter. That's the main hub for you to come on over if you want to interact with all the many things that I do nowadays. My Twitter is at Oni_Dino. And what do? I translate on Nintendo Everything. I do this podcast. I also do a live, interactive, intimate podcast on Get Vocal every Friday. It's... What time is it? 5 p.m. Pacific time. And then you can convert from there. Otherwise, come to my Twitter. I have like a bunch of different time zones written out. And I also am a writer and translator for Silicon Era too. I just started that this week, so please check out my articles on siliconera.com.
I need more activities. I need to do more things to talk about.
Yeah. If it's a measuring contest, then yeah, Galen, you're falling a little short. Oh, this is a good spot for me to put in a slide whistle.
You know, you talk about that a lot, but you very rarely actually do.
You don't want to overuse it, Galen. You want it to be forgotten from the listener's mind, and then when it comes in, be like, oh yeah, that thing.
I will take your word for it, because unlike you, I am very unfamiliar with overusing something.
Just like Mickey Rourke.
Can that just be the title of this podcast? Can we just call this this episode specifically just Awkward Silences with Mickey Rourke?
No.
That's a very wistful no.
I'm a wistful.
Like you looked off into the distance and everything.
I'm a wistful person, Galen. I have a lot of magic inside me.
If your windows were open, your hair would start to like blow back after you said that. You're like, no.
Is a Fabio reference, is that super dated? I think so.
I wasn't trying to make one, but if you want to interpret it that way, then go ahead.
No, I just thought of Fabio. He's not even that handsome.
Not really.
He's a little just... Okay, right into us. NintendoEverythingPod.com. Is Fabio handsome?
He's better looking than Mickey Rourke.
Also not a tough sell on that one. Hey, stay tuned for us. We'll see you next week. Until then, for everything Nintendo.
Stay tuned to